Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. 2 weeks later, Jens, Ben, Mira, and Ira at the cabin. I have been diligently studying both my Russian with Ben, he's such an excellent teacher, and Muay Thai with Destiny. They have both been brutal with me. I finish my latest Muay Thai training session with Destiny, and she announces, "Jennifer, the time has arrived for you to challenge Mira and Ira." I jump up and down in excitement and ask, "Destiny, are you sure?" Destiny smiles at me and says, "Yes, Jennifer, your progress has been exceptional and shows that you have spent many extra hours practicing between our lessons." Destiny didn't know the half of it. All I had been doing, well, other than performing my wifely duties toward Ben, was practicing Muay Thai along with the other martial arts Destiny was teaching me and perfecting my Russian. The Russian practice was much more fun because Ben and I did special things when I was a good student, and I was a very good student. I find Mira and Ira engaged in their reading time and interrupt. Destiny says that I can now kick both your rears. OMG, I almost forgot. Ben did talk Destiny into sparring with Mira and Ira, and she promptly kicked both their rears at the same time. It was great because she used so many different martial arts on them, they had no idea what she was doing. Mira looks up from her book and starts, "Ms. Blaine, we will be happy to defeat you in martial arts competition." Ira completes the sentence. After our allotted reading time expires, I began to taunt by clucking like a chicken, "Whack, whack." Mira and Ira are afraid of me. Ira angrily states, "Ms. Blaine, do not precipitate such falsehoods." I continue to taunt. "Wait, didn't Destiny defeat both of you simultaneously?" Mira counters, "Ms. Blaine, Destiny was fortunate that we didn't join forces against her." Destiny, who always seems to be in the right place at the right time, walks into the room, hears Mira's comment, and offers, "I would be willing to accept that challenge. However, I will still win." Ira counters, "Pride comes before a declination." Destiny laughs that unusual musical laugh of hers and says, "Knowing a fact is not pride. I know I will conquer both of you again because I know how you fight." Mira states, "Destiny, you do not know how we fight together as we are synergistic when we can join our individual abilities." Destiny yawns and affirms, "It will not matter because your technique is too structured, just like your lives." Ira places her book on the table and counters, "Our lives are structured, so we do not waste time, unlike you wastrels of time whose life is totally random." I help Destiny out. Destiny had no problem coming here at the same time each day to teach me. Mira says, "My sister, perhaps it is time we teach both Ms. Blaine and Destiny a martial arts lesson." Ira agrees, "Yes, Mira, you are correct." Destiny says, "First challenge Jennifer. When she beats each of you, I will beat both of you as you simultaneously challenge me." I clap my hands and announce, "I can't wait for a maniped. Perhaps I will have one of you do my manicure while the other does my pedicure." Mira states, "Ms. Blaine, we will change into our GIs and meet you in the gymnasium in 20 minutes. Destiny and I head back to the gym and Destiny gives me some valuable advice. "Jennifer, do not be intimidated by the twins. While they have excellent martial art abilities, they have a serious weakness which I mentioned while they were reading. Their technique, like their life, is too structured. Until they acknowledge this weakness, they are vulnerable because their attacks are always the same. Make your attacks random and rotate randomly through the martial arts I have taught you, and you will be victorious." Ben comes into the gym, smiles at me, and says, "I have had a busy 2 weeks. My Farsi lessons are almost complete, plus Destiny has me busy working on the spiritual aspect of my life. I'm in meditation and sense that Jens is going to spar with the twins, so I wander into the gym, smile at Jens and ask, 'So, today is finally the day?' Jens hops up and down like a child and replies, 'That's right. It's going to be so good to finally kick their rears.' I walk over, hug my wife, and remark, 'Jens, I'm so proud of how hard you've worked, not just on marital arts, but also on your Russian.' Jens kisses me. It's one of those kisses that's full of promise for later. As the twins walk into the gym and Mira complains, 'Ms. Blaine, we are here to evaluate your marital arts abilities, not to observe you playing hockey of tonsil with Mr. Blaine.' Jens grins at them and replies, 'Why should I not play since this was my allotted time to kiss my husband?' Ira counters, 'Ms. Blaine, I consider that there is too much time allotted for that task.' Jens kisses me again and giggles, 'No frickin' way. There's never enough time to kiss my Ben.' I swat Jens' butt and say, 'Go kick both their butts.' Mira counters, 'Mr. Blaine, such an event is not likely to occur.' I grin at Mira and challenge, 'When Jens is done mopping the mat with the two of you, I will fight both of you at the same time.' Ira remarks, 'I would enjoy that, Mr. Blaine, since we still have not seen your mystery martial art that you learned from Destiny.' Jens and Mira approach each other in the center of the mat. They bow respectfully, and Mira immediately launches into an attack, which Yince easily counters. Destiny comments, Ben, the twins do not stand a chance. I told Jennifer of their weakness. I smile at Destiny and reply, I noticed that Yince was ready for the fast attack from Mira. Destiny laughs her unique laugh and says, yes, Mira always tries that trick. Last time that was how she beat Jennifer. With the opening volley of Myra's attack blocked, she falls back to her next routine. Yince is waiting for her, takes her down hard, and delivers some pulled punches. Mira kips up and remarks, Ms. Blaine, your skills have greatly increased. Yince brags, you bet they have, and now I'm going to end this sparring match. Yince goes on the offensive where she's practically a blur of pulled fists, elbows and knees catching Mira totally off guard. Mira wisely submits, Ms. Blaine, if this was genuine combat you would have defeated me. Yince looks at me and I motion her over. She comes to me. I hug her and say, honey, I'm proud of you. That was excellent. Yince smiles and whispers, Ben, that was so easy. Once Destiny told me their secret, I think I could beat them both at once. I caution, Yince, they fight differently as a team, so first watch me fight them before you issue that challenge. Destiny confirms, yes, Jennifer, Ben is correct. Watch their fighting technique when they fight together. It will be exactly the same when you issue the challenge. AITA announces, Ms. Blaine, your performance was admirable. However, you have yet to defeat me. They meet in the middle of the mat and bow. Unlike Mira, but just as she had in their previous match, AITA doesn't initiate an attack. Instead, she steps back and waits for Yince to attack. Yince smiles and fakes an attack. AITA responds to the fake attack, and then Yince easily goes in for the kill. She flings AITA across the mat like a child throwing a doll. AITA lands on her back, jumps up and attacks Yince, who was waiting for it, and finishes AITA. AITA submits, Ms. Blaine, I cannot believe that you defeated me. Yince jumps up and down, runs around the mat, and whoops, I finally did it. She comes over, hugs Destiny, and says, thank you so much for teaching me so well and for the advice. Mira asks, I did not like the fact that Ms. Blaine defeated both of us. From what she said to Destiny, I realize there is a secret they share, so I inquire, Ms. Blaine, what is this advice to which you allude? Ms. Blaine waffles and obviously lies. Sorry, Mira, I'm not sure what you mean. Destiny announces, Mira and AITA, it was what I told you earlier. Once your technique is revealed by observation, it never varies. Jennifer knew what you were going to do before you even did it. I incredulously demand, are you saying Ms. Blaine knew I would perform an immediate attack after the opening bow? Ms. Blaine says, yes, Mira, I knew it was coming, so it wasn't a surprise. You do that in every fight. I retreat and begin a discussion with my sister. AITA comes over and we begin a discussion. My sister Mira, I do believe that Destiny is correct. I do remember that you always try a rapid attack after the opening bow. Mira says, and you, my sister, always wait for the opponent to attack first. I ask, Mira, perhaps this is a weakness in our combat technique. I always assume that practicing the same move multiple times leads to the perfection of the moves. Destiny, who has very acute auditory units, comments, yes, it leads to the perfection of the moves, but the problem is that the combinations you use never vary. So every fight you two engage in is identical. I ask, Destiny, is this how you defeated us simultaneously? Destiny laughs and says, no, I defeated you simultaneously because I am better than both of you. Now that we have this new factoid, I look at Mira and suggest, my sister, when we spar with Mr. Blaine, we will need to randomize our attacks. Mira agrees, yes, my sister, perhaps we might even regain some of our lost glory. I look at Mr. Blaine and ask, Mr. Blaine, you have not changed into a GI. He smiles and replies, no, girls, I won't need to. He removes his boots, steps onto the mat. We face each other and bow. This time I perform a rapid attack instead of Mira. Mr. Blaine, however, is not surprised as he uses a very effective armbar on me and forces me to the mat, where I have to submit before he breaks my arm. I warn Mira, Mr. Blaine's mystery martial art is Aikido. Mira pauses and waits for an opening, however, one never comes. Finally, Mr. Blaine falls back to capoeira, and Mira is easily defeated. I approach Destiny and inquire, Sensei, would you be willing to instruct both of us? Mira approaches and adds, yes, Sensei, we would benefit from your instruction. Destiny laughs and says, girls, I am no sensei. However, I will gladly instruct both of you. We both bow respectfully, and I say, thank you, Destiny. It is obvious we could both use further instruction. Ms. Blaine interrupts. Okay, girls, I'm ready for a maniped. Which one of you starts first? Mira relents. Ms. Blaine, since you defeated me first, I will give you a maniped. Mr. Blaine's new phone rings. 2 weeks later, Liz, Bernie, and Desiree at the cabin. Hell, I never knew that being a mother was so much fun, or I would have. Wait, that's not right. I couldn't be a mother until Yince used her magic to to fix me, and I've totally neglected to thank her for this. You never really know what sort of father a husband will be until it happens, and I'm proud to say that Bernie's been incredible. Hell, he's gotten up and fed Desiree most nights so I could get the sleep that I've sorely needed. Speaking of sore, I am still really sore down there. I assumed I would have an episiotomy. However, they don't routinely do that anymore. But things don't feel well enough yet for Bernie's liking. Yeah, he's ready to try to give Desiree a little brother or sister, but I have other ideas about that. Having one child in diapers at a time is enough for me. Maria and even Linus have been a great help to both of us. I guess they remember what it was like when they had Jennifer. I can't believe they had Jennifer with no help. Of course, there is no shortage of babysitters around here. Heck, even Samantha has offered to babysit for us. I'm just hesitant to let our beautiful little Desiree out of our sight. I even bring her with us when we head to the cafeteria to eat. Of course, Mabel demands to hold her so we can eat in peace. Bernie walks into our room and says, "Liz, I think we need to take Desiree for a walk outside." I look at Bernie and realize that he's had his fill of being cooped up, so I ask, "What are we going to carry Desiree in?" Bernie surprises me when he opens the door, walks outside the room, and rolls in a brand new baby jogger. I practically squeal with glee and announce, "Come on, Desiree, we're going outside." I check her diaper, which is fine, begin to get her into a onesie. Then, of course, a jacket, and Bernie complains. Liz is putting too many damn clothes on Desiree, so I say, "Liz, it's really not cold outside today. Do you think she needs all those clothes?" Liz gives me a strange look and answers, "Bernie, I don't want her to catch a cold." I really love Liz, but this has been a struggle for us. She wants Desiree bundled up like crazy, and I don't think she needs all the clothes that Liz keeps on her. I even talked to Linus some about this, and he told me that at first Maria was the same way with Jennifer, but has calmed down as Jennifer has gotten older. So Linus suggested I give Liz the room she needs to adapt. Adapting is another thing I've had to do. I thought that Liz would be ready to go much sooner than this, but we haven't had sex or anything else since Desiree was born. Once again, I asked Linus and got the same answer. Be patient. Then he told me something really depressing, that sex with Maria had never been the same since the birth. I sure hope that he was wrong about this, because before Desiree, Liz and I were great at sex, and I would sure hate to lose that aspect of our relationship. In the meantime, I had been taking lots of long, hot showers to relieve my personal needs. Liz finally has Desiree in her onesie, and, I can't believe it, a snowsuit. I want to complain, but I don't want to ruin the walk, so I keep my mouth shut and help Liz get Desiree fitted into the baby jogger. Yeah, I can't believe it. Even though Desiree can't even roll over yet, Liz wants all the straps on her. It's not like we're going for a real run or anything. We begin to head outside. Meet Tom, and he asks the obvious, taking the baby out for a walk? Liz says, yes, it's our first trip outside ever. Liz holds up the ever-present camera to document Desiree's trip. Tom suggests, it might be a good idea to take a couple of security guards with you. Liz gives Tom a frightened look as she remembers, shit, I forgot that the cabin is still a target. Bernie, perhaps we should. I interrupt. Liz, we're getting some fresh air whether you like it or not. And of course we will bring a couple of security guards. Tom further informs us, I will make sure that Gretchen has the drones up and running for overwatch, and don't worry, we have all the normal guards stationed around the cabin. Tom leaves for the control room while Liz and I head into the garage and pick up a couple of security guards for the walk. Once we get outside, Liz finally relaxes some and says, Bernie, thanks for the baby jogger. I can't wait until I can start running again. I boldly suggest, Liz, there's no time like the present to try it out. Liz bites her lip and asks, do you really think I could run a little? We hear the drone buzz overhead, so I know that we're covered. I look at the security guards and ask, do you mind if we run just a little? The main guard replies, no problem with me. So we begin to run a little. Desiree loves it and promptly falls asleep. Liz remarks, Bernie, I've forgotten how good running feels. Present, Samantha, report from the Denver Mint. Vic and I arrive at the Denver Mint, and the FBI SWAT team has it surrounded. I pull a mirror out of my backpack, make sure my game face is on and my hair is good. I nod to Vic. He presses the record button, and I begin my report. Greetings, America. I'm Samantha Stevens with the Truth Network. We're at the site of the Denver Mint where an FBI SWAT team has the building surrounded. There are unconfirmed rumors that someone has tried to rob the Mint. This has only happened once in the past. That was on December 18, 1922. I will work my way closer to see if we can ask a police officer what is happening. We work our way up to a Denver policeman, and I ask, Sir, I am Samantha Stevens with the Truth Network. Could you please give us more information about what is happening? He looks at me, smiles, and says, Hello, Samantha. The only thing we know for sure is that the alarm was tripped at the Denver Mint. When that happens, we respond immediately. I continue with the questions. Sir, if it was just an alarm, then what is the FBI SWAT team doing here? He doesn't turn this time and just replies, I'm not really sure. The Mint usually has a staff of about 50 security guards, so the FBI seems redundant to me. Vic motions behind me, and I turn and notice everyone. It looks like the Mint security people and the FBI SWAT team are bringing a group of people out. I notice that Vic has the camera pointed at them, and I can only assume that he's zoomed in on them. The SWAT team leaves, and the policeman says, well, I guess that's over. I thank him. Thank you, officer, for giving us your time. Vic kills the camera and says, well, I'm not sure what happened. I reply, neither am I. But let's get back to the chopper, and then we're headed to New Orleans. Vic asks, what's in New Orleans? I smile at him and reply, hopefully some answers to a question I have. We find a taxi headed away from the scene, get in back, and the driver says, hey, you're Samantha Stevens. We watch you all the time. I blush and answer, thank you for being a loyal viewer. The driver continues, we loved your fight with the Adele Arakawa. You really put her in her place. I blush even worse and apologize, sorry about that, but she had been very rude to me in the past. The driver laughs, well, I guess you showed her who's the boss. We arrive at the FBI building. I pay the driver, and he asks, hey, if you're not doing something one of these nights, it would be. I interrupt. Sorry, but I was divorced 6 or 7 months ago, and I'm not ready to date yet. Vic gives me the I told you so look as we wait for the agent to arrive and escort us to the helipad. I glare at Vic and declare, don't say a word. Vic grins and replies, yes, boss lady. The agent comes and escorts us to the helipad. We're in the air when Vic's ancient as a dinosaur phone rings. He answers it, listens to the conversation, and says, it's Gretchen, and she says she has a new phone for you. I smile and say, good, we will stop by the tunnels so I can change clothes, grab the phone, and pick up John and the camera. Vic asks, you think there might be a news story in New Orleans? I reply, I don't know, but I want to be ready just in case. Vic questions, will we be home for dinner? I think for a little and reply, probably not. You might want to call Mallory and let her know. Vic gives me a strange look and reminds me, Samantha, you still need to come to our house for dinner. I silently swear and reply, Vic, you're right. Why don't we plan on having a late dinner at your house tonight? Vic calls his wife Mallory and asks her if tonight would be good for me to come to dinner. He finishes the call with many I love yous. When he's finished, he says, Mallory said tonight would be great for dinner. She's looking forward to meeting you. I comment, I don't know how she can think that you and I would be doing anything. It's obvious to me that you really love her. Vic confesses, I think it's because I broke up with her for a short time before I knew she was pregnant. Ever since then, she's felt insecure. I say, well, I will do my best tonight to make her realize how much you love her. By the way, why did you break up with her? Vic looks down and confesses, at the time, I didn't have a job and we were fighting all the time over money. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I left. I made a decision that I would reveal to both of them tonight. I just hoped the other board members for the Truth Network wouldn't mind. Present, Stacy, in a new room. I feel better because my BFF Sam believes me, and from what she said, so does Bill. It took them both long enough, though. And Sam is right, even if she does believe me. It's not like she can do a news report on it. If only I had been born 100 or so years ago, we'd be hanging the witch bitch tomorrow. The agent comes in my room and I complain, what the hell do you want now? The agent gets mouthy and replies, well, I was going to move you to a better room, but perhaps I should just leave you here. I taunted, what a big man that makes you, threatening me. Well, if that's what makes you hard, then it's fine with me. He commands, face the wall again. I go through the procedure. He feels me up to make sure I don't have any weapons. Then they put the shackles on me and move me into a much nicer room, which even has a built-in TV. I smile because I know that my lawyers must be doing their jobs, otherwise I'd still be in that shithole of a room. He begins to leave and I ask, where's the remote for the TV? He scowls at me and replies, you are the remote for the TV. He leaves and I turn on the TV to see what channels I get. Flashback, Masha, Louise, and Tanya. Help from the lawyer. I was so furious regarding the reports that the fool, John Rowan, had been presenting about me that I could barely think straight. Louise didn't help when she suggested I kick his derriere because that's exactly what I desired to do. Tanya, the lawyer, gave me something to think about when she informed me I could be deported if assaulted him, so I calmed down and asked, Tanya, how then will we counter what John Rowan said? Tanya smiled at me and said, for a news reporter, Martina isn't bad, so I think we could trust her to do a fair report on you. It might be especially effective if I vet the questions before she asks them. Louise was still fired up and said, I still think that he needs his butt kicked. Tanya agreed. Of course he does. But there are other ways to get even than resorting to physical violence. Louise asked, what sort of ways are you thinking about? Tanya smiled and replied, if he was caught in a compromising position with someone who wasn't his wife. Louise interrupted. I'll volunteer for that job. Tanya destroyed Louise's hope. Sorry, But he knows you, so that's not going to work. Besides, you're not his type. However, I do have a female client who might be perfect for the job. I inquired, so what is his type? Tanya laughed and said, the beacher the better. Now first let's call Martina and get her back here for the interview. Then I will call my friend and a PI and get them working on John Rowan. Tanya makes the calls while Louise and I listen. She disconnects her phone and says, Martina will be here later today and agrees that I will have to approve the questions. And once I get my other friend out of jail, she will start working on John for us. Louise asked, why is your friend in jail? Tanya replied, because she makes her living as a lady of the night. I give Louise a confused look, so she leans over and explains. It's obvious to me that Masha doesn't understand the term that Tanya used, so I lean over and whisper, Masha, a lady of the night is a hooker. Masha gives me a shocked look and whispers, why would Tanya be a lawyer for such a woman? I continue with the whisper, you should ask her. Masha didn't need to ask Tanya because she noticed we had been whispering and said, I'm sure that you two are discussing why I would defend a hooker. Everyone is entitled to good defense, even women who have made and continue to make mistakes. Then Tanya surprises us when she asks, I can tell that Masha is bothered with the fact that I defend a hooker. If Masha knew the reasons my client became a hooker, it would probably help. However, because she's my client, I can't reveal anything to Masha. So instead I offered, if it bothers you that I defend a hooker, then you are welcome to find a new lawyer. Masha thought for a few moments and replied, Tanya, you are correct. Hookers are entitled to a good defense. While I do not know the details of the situation, I do trust that you have a good reason to defend her. With that problem solved, I begin to talk to Masha. Masha, John Rowan is going to look for any reason to make you look bad, so can you tell me about all the things you have done since you've come to America? Masha replied, Tanya, you already know about the teenage gang on the bus. I also killed the girl gang leader here in my living room when she broke into the house. Then there was the men who assaulted the women and who I helped the police arrest. I asked, Masha, how did you get involved in that situation? From what I understand, you went to the bar where they worked. Louise explained, Masha went because I told her about the man who assaulted me and kept bothering me. This gave me some concern, so I asked, Masha, what was your intent when you went to that bar? Masha looked down and then asked, do you wish the truth? I clarified, yes, I want the truth. Masha replied, Tanya, I went there with plans to kill them for what they did and were still doing to Louise. I quickly interrupted. Masha, don't ever say that again. When you are asked why you went to the bar, tell them that you wanted to get revenge for what the men did to Louise. Masha asked, so you want me to lie about this? I nodded my head and continued, you bet I do. You will be called as a witness for this case, and if you tell the jury you went there to kill the man, then you will lose all credibility. Masha looked down and said, Tanya, I am not sure I can lie about this. I wanted to slap some sense into her, but knew that wouldn't work, so instead I asked, so, you're telling me you would rather be deported back to Russia with no hope of coming back to see your husband? Masha glared at me and said, no, I do not wish to be deported. While America isn't that much better than Russia, if lying about this is a requirement to stay here for my husband, I will comply. However, I do not like it. With that problem solved, I began to coach Masha on the upcoming interview. It was just in time because Martina showed up after 30 minutes. The interview was over, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Tanya had been a great help and even made sure I wore a nice outfit for the interview. Tanya and Martina went over the questions together, so I got to hear them before Martina asked them. The only question I really didn't care for was, how do you feel about the base commander canceling leave for the troops? I told Martina how the police department had promised to have officers posted here 24 hours a day after the teenage gang leader attacked my house, and then I told her the police had stopped providing that security. I continued with the fact that I didn't ask the base commander to cancel the leave and was sorry if it caused problems in the community. I merely reported that the police department had failed to deliver on its promise to the base commander. When we were completed, Martina thanked me for the interview and my hospitality. Then she left to get the interview on the air as soon as possible. Louise remarked, Masha, you did great. Tanya reinforced, yes, that was a good interview and should go far in protecting you from John Rowan's lies. I looked forward to all of this being behind me. Flashback, Ben, back at the hospital. I looked at Jack and asked, Jack, can you help me with my stuff so I can assist the doctors with the boys? Jack replied, sure thing, Ben. I hope that you tortured out of the scumsucker who did those things to the little girls. I began taking off my gear and replied, he was already dead by the time we got into the room. A flashbang unintentionally blew a hole in his chest. However, Amir decided to add his own touch before we set the building on fire. Amir walked up and said, Ben, that's not all I did. He held up something, and Jack asked, what is that? Amir smirked. A little souvenir. Jack and I exchanged glances, both wondering just how messed up Amir really was. A nurse interrupted my thoughts as she walked by. purposefully brushing against me. She handed me some scrubs, smiling as she said, "These should fit you perfectly." Jack laughed and said, "Damn Ben, don't tell me it's going to continue here." I complained, "Not if I have my way, it's not." I was in the scrubs, and the doctor said, "Work with the nurse, and she will tell you what each boy needs." I sure as hell didn't like the sound of that because the further I stayed away from these sex-crazed nurses, the better. Hell, all I wanted to do was to get back into my gear and rescue more of these children. Flashback, Jack, at the hospital. Once I figured out that Ben was going to be in good and feminine hands, I took off to check on the troops while I silently chuckled to myself about the nurses and Ben. John was true to his word. The private manning the comm system came out of the room and announced to me, "Sergeant Reynolds, the additional medical team is en route. They should arrive Ricky Tick." I glared at the private and demanded, "How the hell long is Ricky Tick?" He gave me a sheepish look and replied, "Sergeant, I'm just repeating the message, but I think I hear the chopper now." My ears must be getting old because it was another few minutes before I heard the chopper. I told the private manning the comm to request a flare from artillery, and he waffled, "Sergeant, that's something the lieutenant normally does." This was going to be good. I ordered the private, "Then goes wake up the lieutenant and tell him he needs to call in a fire mission for the flare." The private complained, "Sergeant, if I wake up." I interrupted, "If you don't wake up the lieutenant and get the fire mission for the flare, I will put my size 10 boot up your butt." The private left to wake up the lieutenant, and I grinned. The brilliant corporal who fixed everything came up and asked, "Sergeant, should I turn on the spotlights on the roof?" I asked, "When did we get spotlights for the roof?" The corporal replied, "Sergeant, they've always been there, but I reconnected them yesterday." I smiled and said, "Hell yeah, turn on the spotlights." I knew I should have stopped the private from waking up the lieutenant because the flare mission wasn't needed anymore, but I decided, with an evil smile, I would be too late to catch him. I did hear the lieutenant berating the private for waking him up. He came up to me and demanded, "Sergeant, was waking me up your idea?" I smiled and replied, "No, sir. I was told that since only you call and fire missions, I didn't want to overstep my boundaries. But we don't need it anymore anyway." The lieutenant looked dumbfounded and asked, "Why is that, Sergeant Reynolds?" I hid the shit-eating grin and replied, "We have spotlights for the roof that should be coming on." The whole place lit up and I finished now. The lieutenant turned to leave and I asked, "Sir, don't you want to meet the new medical staff? It is your responsibility to meet them when they arrive." He grumbled and said, "Sergeant, I don't need you to remind me of my duty." He headed to the roof while I laughed my butt off. Flashback, Jennifer at home. Daniela and Jed were taking a walk and I was going to head up to my room and study a bit of grandmother's book when Daddy offered, "Jennifer, why don't we watch something on television?" I could tell Daddy missed Mother, so I complied with the suggested restriction. "Okay, Daddy, as long as it's not one of those stupid football games." Yeah, I hated watching those and couldn't understand why men were obsessed with them. Daddy shocked me when he offered, "Great, and I will even let you run the remote control." Wow, Daddy must really miss Mother. He's never offered to let me be in command of the television remote control before. We both sat on the couch and Daddy handed me the remote. I turned it on, found the cable television menu, and began to search. I found a ballet that I would like to watch, but I knew Daddy would be bored mindlessly by it. Finally, I found a show that we should both like, punched the buttons for the channel, and we were watching a shooting show. Daddy praised me. "Thank you, Jennifer. I was worried we were going to watch the ballet." I confessed, "Daddy, I'm not sure I want to keep dancing. I will only keep dancing if Mother demands it of me." Daddy laughed and said, "Well then, Jennifer, my guess is that you are going to keep dancing. I don't think Evelyn is ready to have you stop." I sighed and complained, "Yeah, I figured she would. She wants me to be a prima ballerina, and I sure don't want to become one." Daddy laughed and confirmed, "Yes, I don't see my little Tom girl ever becoming a prima ballerina. In fact, I get a kick out of watching you dance because it's so unlike you." I smiled and said, "Now if they could dance in camo and boots, I might be more interested." Daddy stated, "I have no idea how you can tolerate those shoes. Combat boots would probably work better." I grin at Daddy and tease, "Yeah, they are much too uncomfortable for a man to tolerate." The front door opens. Daniela and Jed walk in. I rush over and notice Daniela's face is flushed, so I can't wait to ask her what happened. Daddy yelled from the den, "Jed, grab another beer, and I'm in here." Daniela got Jed Anther beer from the refrigerator while Jed walked into the den and asked, "Isn't there a game on tonight?" Daddy replied, "There sure is, let me find it." I looked at Daniela and asked, "Well, how was your walk?" She blushed and said, "Senorita Jennifer, it was unlike any walk I have ever been on." I probed her with a question, "What do you mean? He didn't try anything, did he?" Daniela looked shocked and replied, "No, Senorita Jennifer. All we did was hold hands and walk." I felt better when she told me that, and I explained, "Daddy and Jed are watching football. Do you like football?" Daniela asked, "Do you mean American football?" I giggled and replied, yeah, I do. I forgot that what we call soccer is football in your country. Daniela complained, I don't understand American football. I suggested, perhaps you can get Jed to explain it to you. Daniela hurried into the den to watch football with Daddy and Jed while I went to my room. When I arrived in my room, Grandmother surprised me. Jennifer, I have been waiting for you. It's time to begin your lessons. I asked, lessons? What lessons? Grandmother replied, your witch lessons, of course. And every night after that, Grandmother came to teach me how to be a good witch. Flashback, Alexei at home. I really liked the thought of being able to take university classes at home, so I hoped that Father would get good news from the university tomorrow. When I slept that night, I had some bad dreams about older students at the university torturing me. Father even came into my room, woke me and asked, Alexei, what was your bad dream about? I replied, Father, I was being tortured by the older university students. Father assured me, Alexei, we will figure out some way for you to take the university classes without having to attend the university. That made me happy, and I slept the rest of the night without bad dreams. Father did call the university first thing in the morning and had a long discussion with them. When he finished, he smiled at me and said, Alexei, good news. They do offer all the courses without requiring attendance, other than you will have to meet weekly with the teacher for a test. They even have all the lectures on videotape. I smiled and replied, thank you, Father, this is perfect. Later that day, Father and I went to the university, met with my teachers, then picked up my books, assignments, and videotapes of the lectures. When we were back at the house, I cleared a special place in my room on the bookcase for the university materials and then asked Father, could I start working on the subjects today? Father smiled and said, of course, Alexei. I took the first videotape to the tape player and began my life as a university student. Flashback, Ira and Mira, continuing. Our attack was devastating and the troops stood no chance of survival. One troop survived and with similarity of cowardice pleaded for his life. Please, girls, if you do not kill me, I will give you important information. I stated, give us your information and we will determine whether we should spare your life. He said, we are the last of Kostia's troops. You have killed all the rest. I replied, this information is worth of sparing your menial life only if you deliver our message of reply to Kostia. The man hopefully asked, what message would you like me to deliver? Mira said, tell Kostia that he is the male offspring of female Saluki and that we are waiting for him if he possesses the manly parts necessary to endeavor to locate us. I motioned to him with my rifle, and he quickly jumped up and ran away. Now we needed to wait for Kostia? Flashback, Todd, on the mission. I had spent enough time here, and it was time for me to take revenge on the company for the problems they had caused me. During dinner I signed, tomorrow I will need to leave on business. Maria's face turned white, and Gail complained, Todd, I thought you liked it here. I returned signed, I do, my little one. But there are things that I need to finish, and since things are now settled and in good shape here, I need to get to other tasks. Maria cried, Todd, who will take care of us if you are not here? I signed, Roberto will be stopping by daily to teach you martial arts, and I will leave enough money so that he can buy some food for all of you. Gail signed, I hope you leave him a bunch of money. Maria laughed, and I mimed a laugh and returned, don't worry, I'm going to set up a bank account for the two of you. Maria looked into my eyes and asked, Todd, can I do anything to change your mind? I shook my head and replied, sorry, Maria, but we all knew the time was coming for me to return to work. That night, Maria came into my room and made sure I knew what I would be missing. Another 2 weeks later, Ben, Jens, Mira, and Ira at the cabin. Well, the day has finally come, and it's time for us to leave on our mission. My Farsi is practically perfect. Jens' Russian has no American accent. Destiny has honed our martial arts skills, including those of Mira and Ira, to a keen edge, and Jens has learned to act her place as a wife. The most unfortunate part of leaving is that Destiny won't be coming with us. We all practically begged her to come. Mira and Ira even tried to bribe her to come. But Destiny said, these are your battles to fight. I pulled Tom to the side before we leave to say, Tom, we're leaving for an extended time. As head of security and construction on the cabin, keep up the good work. Tom asks, I gather you don't want me to know where you're going or what your plans are. I smile at him and reply, the fewer who know the better, so I'm not telling you. I will have my phone, and it will work internationally, and before you even try, Gretchen says that you can't trace it. Yeah, I forgot to mention, Gretchen found us some great phones. They are BlackBerry DTK 50s. Jens loves hers and went on about how BlackBerry hardened this and that and how secure they were. I didn't care since it ran Android, and also my 2 apps, Strelic Plus and Shooter, just fine. Tom says, well, take care of yourself, and we are projecting the cabin to be finished in 1 more week. I congratulate him. Thanks to you, Tom. When we get back, we will have a sit down and let you know where we were and what we did. Tom asks, should I run the Cobra in your new truck every week or so? I think for a moment and reply, Tom, we're not sure how long this will take, so please run both the vehicles weekly. If we're gone more than 6 months, get the oil and filters changed on both the Cobra and my new truck. Don't forget we use Mobil 1 synthetic oil. That reminds me, the phone call I got at the end of the last chapter was the body shop. Yin's Cobra was done, the name on the door was changed to her name, and they did an excellent graphic on the trunk of the Ready to Strike Cobra. On my truck? Unfortunately, my old truck wasn't reparable, but I still couldn't stand apart with her, so I had her hauled into the garage. I am now the owner of a new Dodge Ram 3500 with the Cummins diesel engine. It's a good truck, but it's not like my old girl. I had to settle for an automatic transmission on this one, plus it cost a small fortune. Yin's arrives with her suitcase, her carry-on, and says, Ben's talking to Tom, who has been great help in getting the cabin finished. I come up and remind Ben, honey, we need to leave for the airport. Tom offers, I could probably take all of you in the Crown Vic if you don't have too much luggage. Ben offers, Tom, we might have too much luggage for your car. Why don't we take my truck? Tom suggests, Ben, I know you're still breaking your truck in. So how about we take one of the vans instead? I prod Tom. You know, if you brought Ingo along with you, then you two could stop at a restaurant before coming back to the cabin. Tom shoots down my idea by saying, sorry, but only one of us can leave at a time. Mira and Ira arrive with their suitcases. I look at Ben and ask, where's your luggage? Ben says, I need to go get them from our room. Ben leaves and I ask Tom, so are you and Inga going to share a room when the cabin is done? Tom smiles at me and says, not if I have my way about it. That was what I figured. While Inga was back because the restaurant closed and worked on our security team, Tom still hadn't really been treating her any better. I complain, Tom, if Inga leaves again. Tom interrupts. Jennifer, Inga and I have come to an agreement, and she's not going to leave. Ben arrives with his suitcase with carry-on, and Tom looks at the luggage and remarks, if you all are going on such a long trip, won't you need more clothes? Mira interjects. Tom has taken far too much interest in our trip, which must remain covert. I reply to his question with our typical response. Tom, because of airline restrictions, we are taking the bare minimum of clothing. If we need additional or newer accoutrements, we will purchase them on the trip. Ms. Blaine confirms my cover story. Myra's correct, Tom. There's no way we can bring all the clothing that we will need. Tom asks another annoying question. Don't tell me you and Mira are leaving your katanas. Ira replies. I can sense my sister Mira is annoyed with Tom's questions, so I quickly reply to Tom's question. Tom, you know that we cannot bring the katanas onto the flight with us. They are in our checked luggage. Inga arrives in one of the vans. Tom acquires the driver's seat. The rest of us climb into the van, close the doors, and we leave. I decide to become annoying, so I query Tom. Tom, when are you and Inga planning on cohabitating? Tom mutters something about hell freezing over, and Ms. Blaine counters. Tom, we all know better than that. I bet it happens while we're on our mission. Mira also annoys Tom with an old joke we had learned. I think that Tom is so old he can no longer get it up. Tom swears. That's a lie, and I wish you all had never learned that term. Mr. Blaine is uncommonly quiet, so I lean over and whisper, Mr. Blaine, you seem preoccupied. Mr. Blaine looks at me and replies, sorry, Ira. I was meditating on our mission, trying to see if we would encounter any unforeseen circumstances. I was certain that situations would arise, but nothing that the four of us could not terminate to our advantage. We arrive at Denver International Airport and Tom asks, which airline are you taking? Mr. Blaine informs him, Tom, we're taking United. Tom follows the signs, pulls up to the terminal. We exit the van and Mr. Blaine says, thanks, Tom. We will let you know through Gretchen when we're coming back. We walk into the terminal and Mr. Blaine orders. I see the restrooms point and say, okay, it's time to change our clothes. Yeah, we had been wearing normal travel clothing and that had to be fixed because of our destination. The girls went into the women's restroom while I went into mine, found an empty stall, and began to change. This was going to be one of my least favorite things to endure on the trip. I put my normal travel clothes into my carry-on bag, came out of the stall, and hated the looks that the other passengers gave me. But it was going to be worse later. I exited the men's room and Mira ordered, Mr. Blaine, come with me into the family restroom so I can apply the rest of your costume. I followed her into the family bathroom. Mira did an excellent job applying the rest of my costume. As we exited the bathroom, I heard Jens giggle a little. I berate her, Jens, cut it out, or you will stay here. I walk toward the ticket counter, and the girls follow respectfully behind me. I swear I could feel the eyes of the other passengers burning with hatred for me. I walk up to the ticket counter, hand them my itinerary and diplomatic passport, put my check bag onto the scale, and the claims attendant asks, are the three behind you traveling with you today? I reply with my best Farsi accent, yes, they are my wives. To her credit, she didn't even give me a dirty look. However, she does ask, I see you've reserved the entire center aisle of all 4 seats. I reply, That is correct. We must sit together. She hands me my boarding pass and offers, if your wives approach, I will give them their boarding passes. Jens says with a damn good Russian accent. Sorry, Ms. We cannot approach our husband. We will come to the ticket counter after he leaves. I leave and wait while Jens, Mira, and Ira go to the ticket counter. The ticket agent hands them their boarding passes, and they walk to where I am waiting. I lead the way to the security checkpoint. If we're going to have a problem, it will be there. But because of our diplomatic passports, we walk right through security and toward the gate for the flight. We find foreign used, adjoining seats and take them. People intentionally avoid us, other than a few children who point at us until their parents scold them. I hate like hell to be wearing the clothes I'm wearing and look the way I look, but it is a necessary evil which I must get accustomed to. Finally, the boarding call is announced for our flight, and we move to the line for people needing extra time to board. Because I show the ticket agent my diplomatic passport, she nods her head and doesn't challenge me. We board the airplane first, even before the women with children or the disabled people. We store our carry-on bags in the console above us and take our seats, with Jens being the closest to me. She leans over and whispers, Ben, I can't believe they let us through security looking like this. It's a joke. Ira pulls Jens' headscarf and scolds her in Farsi, which Jens doesn't understand, but she does shut the hell up. Jens fixes her headscarf. I close my eyes and begin to meditate, then I hear Mira complain loudly in Farsi. I open my eyes and some man had bumped into her. I jumped up and yelled at him with my Farsi accent, Do not touch one of my wives again, you infidel. The flight attendants come over and one of them suggests, Sir, perhaps you would be more comfortable in first class? I counter with my accent. No, I decry the decadence of first class and will not have my family subjected to it. What we do require is that the infidel men on this flight not touch my wives. The flight attendant nicely asks, Please, sir, take your seat. I sit down, but not before giving the man that bumped into Mira a dirty look. The fasten seatbelt sign comes on. We fasten our seatbelts. The pilot comes on the PA and announces, Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I am your pilot, Hank. We are lucky today to have some very special guests traveling with us. They are Valentin Sedankina and his 3 wives Dasha, Miranda, and Irina. Valentin is a dignitary from Kazakhstan, so please afford them every courtesy possible. We taxi out to the runway and wait our turn. It comes, and we are successfully on our way to our mission. Another 2 weeks later, Liz, Bernie, and Desiree at the cabin. Jens has been almost non-existent this week, and the only excuse she gave was that they, Jens, Ben, Mira, and Ira, are going on some sort of covert mission. What sort of covert mission? She wouldn't even give me a hint. I do know that she's been studying Russian and her martial arts almost all the time. I'm sort of worried about her, but I don't know what to do. Things are still great with Desiree. She is so much fun and keeps Bernie and I amused all the time. Speaking of Bernie, he has been seriously hinting about having sex again, but so far I have put him off with the excuse that I'm still sore, which I actually am. The baby jogger has been great, and we have been taking some runs with it. Of course, Tom makes sure we take some security guards with us, which I'm thankful for. Bernie has surprised me by expressing an interest in learning how to shoot. He's never shown an interest before, and when I asked him, he said, Liz has still avoided having sex with me, saying that she's still sore. We have a checkup with the doctor next week, and I plan on asking him when we can start again. I told Liz I wanted to learn to shoot. She asked me why, so I told her, Liz, I need to be able to keep you and Desiree safe. Liz suggests, Bernie, we can hire a bodyguard. I remember the twins and complain, Liz, I don't believe you would even suggest that after what happened with the twins. Liz amazes me when she asks, Bernie, I don't know what you mean. Things were great with them. I seriously complain, Liz. Have you lost your mind? They were so obtrusive, it was terrible. She laughs and says, Well, Bernie, they are Ben and Jens' problems now. I add, and from what I've heard, they have had issues with maintaining their privacy too. Liz laughs and says, I'm not sure if you heard. Jens actually kicked their butts in martial arts. I whistle and remark, I didn't know she had become so much better. Liz says, Yeah, she was taking lessons from Destiny. I ponder, perhaps I could take lessons from Destiny. Liz shoots down my idea. With all of them being gone, I'm not sure how you would get in contact with her. I ask, Do we know when they are coming back? Liz shakes her head and says, No one has any idea, and before you ask, I don't even know where they went. Bernie remarks, That's not like them to be so secretive. I frown and agree, that's for sure. Present, Samantha, heading to New Orleans. Vic, John and I are on our way to New Orleans. John asks, Samantha, why the trip to New Orleans? I reply, I need to check out some things concerning some news I received, and they probably have more resources available there than anywhere else. Vic reminds me, just as long as we are back in Leadville in time for dinner. I don't want to upset Mallory. I smile at Vic and say, I don't think we will have a problem with it. You did ask for a late dinner, though? Vic confirms, Yeah, Mallory is expecting us at 8 and said, "Don't be late." John says, "That's too bad since I was looking forward to some Creole cooking." The pilot announces, "Please fasten your seat belts, we will be landing in 10 minutes." Vic remarks, "That was fast. If we don't take too much time on your story, we should be home in plenty of time for dinner." We land, head inside to the rental counter, and I ask, "How much for a rental car?" They quote me a price and Vic interrupts, "I'm ex-military. Can you apply my discount?" They come back with a lower price, and then I ask, "I need to find Marie Laveau House of Voodoo." The rental clerk says, "That's easy to find. It's on 739 Bourbon Street. Here's a map that will help you find it." He hands me a map and even marks the route on it. Then he says, "By the way, Samantha, we love your reports." I smile and reply, "Thanks. Let me give you an autograph picture." He says, "I would rather take a selfie with you." We take a selfie together and leave. Vic asks, "What the hell are we doing going to a voodoo shop?" I repeat, "Like I said earlier, I'm doing research." We make it to Marie Laveau House of Voodoo without any problems, and I start to walk into the store. Vic looks around and says, "This place gives me the heebie-jeebies." I laugh and say, "You can wait outside if you want." He says, "I wouldn't be much of a bodyguard if I did." I walk up to the counter where a wild-looking old African-American woman comes out and says, "Samantha, I have been expecting you." I'm not sure how to respond, so I reply, "Okay, how did you know I was coming here?" She replies, "I know all and I see all." Vic laughs. She looks at him and says, "Victor, good to see you too." I don't have time to waste, so I ask, "I don't know your name, but what can you tell me about witches?" She smiles at me and says, "Samantha, I know who you're asking about, and yes, your friend is correct. She is what we call a white witch." I ask for clarification, "What is a white witch?" She replies, "This is easy. A white witch only does good magic while a black witch only does bad magic." Vic laughs again. She looks at him and says, "Victor, it is bad that you do not believe in powers higher than yourself." Vic interrupts, "Oh, I believe in God." The old woman responds, "God is good, but so are other spiritual things." I get the conversation back on course. "So do you think this white witch would cast a love spell on a man?" The old woman laughs. "No, Samantha, she would never do that. Only black witches can do that." I hypothesize, "So then if a man loves her, it is true love and there's nothing that can be done?" The old woman laughs and says, "Samantha, there are always things that can be done if you are willing to pay the price." I know I owe it to Stacy, so I ask, "What's the price?" She says, "You can tell your friend that she would have to give part of her soul to the black witch who performed the love spell." I didn't like the sound of that, so I ask, "What happens to my friend if she does that?" The old woman says, "Your friend is partially owned by the black witch and has to do what she orders." I do have some names of very powerful black witches if you want them. I shake my head and say, "No, that's fine. I think I have more than enough information for right now." She still hands me a business card and says, "If your friend changes her mind, have her call me." I look at Vic. We leave the store together and Vic asks, "Samantha, don't tell me that had something to do with Stacy saying Jennifer Blaine is a witch." I reply, "Of course it does, Vic, and now I know that Stacy is right. Jennifer Blaine is a white witch." Vic asks, "How do you know?" I reply, "Bill has all the information, and when we get back to Leadville you should read it and decide for yourself." Vic says, "I hope you're not going to tell Stacy about the black witches and the love spells." I toss the business card into the gutter. We get into the rental car, and I reply, "Of course not. It comes with too high of a price." We make it back to the airport, catch the flight back to Leadville, and go to Stacy's office. Bill asks, "Well, what did you find out?" I reply, "Bill, please let Vic see the information from Stacy." Bill hands the report to Vic and says, "I didn't think it was possible until I started to read it." Vic replies, "I will make up my own mind." I explain to Bill about white witches and how they cannot cast love spells. Then I tell Bill about black witches, but I leave out the part about black witches being able to cast love spells. Instead, I state, "Bill, there's nothing that can be done about Ben loving Jennifer. And also nothing that can be done to Jennifer." Bill heaves a sigh of relief and says, "That's good news to know. Perhaps now Stacy will leave this alone." I ask, "What are the lawyers saying?" Bill replies, "I do have some good news. They moved Stacy to a better cell that even has a television. They are still trying to decide which defense to use, but they might go after the insanity defense again." Vic says, "Well, I'm done reading this bullshit. Are you ready to head to my house for dinner?" Bill complains, "Vic, how can you call it bullshit?" Vic laughs and says, "That's easy because it is." "Bill, when did you lose your mind?" Bill fights back, "Vic, if my arm wasn't broken I would kick your butt." Vic replies, "Well, it's a good thing it is because you know you can't take me." I tell Vic, "I need to head to my place and change clothes. I will meet you at your house." Vic counters, "No, you won't, Samantha. I'm your bodyguard, and I will go with you." We head down the hill to my castle. I go into my bedroom, change out of my work clothes, and Vic drives us to his house. Present, Stacy, in a new room. I can't wait to hear what Samantha discovers in New Orleans about witches. I hope like hell it's something I can use to fight the witch bitch. This room is much nicer than my old room, and I'm enjoying the television. Then they come in with dinner for me. I look at it and complain, what sort of shit is this? The agent smiles and says, it's prison food, and I would get used to it because you're going to be in here a long time. I continue the complaints. I'm not even sure this is edible. He laughs and taunts. Don't worry, I'm sure there's not too much rat shit in it. I take the tray, throw it at the agent, and miss. He laughs. Well, I guess you're not eating tonight. He leaves, and I continue watching the television. Present, Ben, Valentine, Jens, Dasha, Ira, and Mira, on the mission. I lean back in my seat and meditate to manage the almost overwhelming feeling of hate being directed at us. This is going to be a long flight, and I need to maintain my composure. The fasten seatbelt light goes off, and Dasha whispers to me in her almost perfect Russian. I need to go to the bathroom. I reply in Russian. Can't you wait? Dasha complains in Russian. Heck no, I can't wait. Ira, who is sitting adjacent to Jens, offers. I will accompany her to the bathroom. I release my seatbelt and stand up to allow Dasha and Ira to head to the bathroom. The flight attendant intercepts them and suggests, perhaps you would feel more comfortable using the bathroom in first class. Jens looks at me for approval. I nod to affirm that it's fine with me, and Jens replies, with a great Russian accent. Thank you, miss. That would be better for us. I observe while the flight attendant leads them through first class to the bathroom. Thank God there are no problems since the last thing I want is trouble on the flight. I retake my seat and resume my meditation. Jens and Ira return from the bathroom, and I tease. Did everything come out okay? Jens replies, of course, you can check if you would like. Ira scolds. Dasha, this is not the place for that. The flight attendants bring our breakfast to us, and I ask with my Farsi accent, is this the halal meal we requested? The flight attendant assures me it is approved, and I pass one meal to each of my 3 wives. We open them, and thank God they don't have a ham sandwich like the meals the other passengers have. We eat our meals, which are a cheese sandwich and some crackers. I look at the fruit cup and command, don't eat the fruit cup. We finish our breakfast. The flight attendant takes the containers from us, and I suggest, we should get some sleep. I make sure to touch each of my wives' faces, recline my seat, and the SOB behind me kicks the shit out of my seat. I stand up and glare at him. He grins like crazy at me and says, what's wrong, you scumsucker? I wave to the flight attendant. She quickly comes over and I complain. This man has insulted me and needs to be moved to a new seat. She apologizes, sorry for that, sir. I will move him immediately. He begins to argue with the flight attendant. I'm not going to change my seat for this scumsucker. An air marshal comes up, identifies himself, and asks, is there a problem? I explain, this man has offended me and I demand that he is moved to a new seat. The air marshal says, sir, you can either move peacefully or be taken into custody. The man reluctantly moves, but mutters under his breath, I can't believe I'm being asked to move for someone like that. He's relocated to the back of the plane, but I know I'll have to keep an eye on him. I retake my seat and try to settle in for a nap. I can't believe how calm Valentine, my husband Ben is. I know Ben, and I know how much he dislikes the outfit he's wearing. I still remember when he used to call it a costume, and now he's forced to wear one. But even worse for Ben is the fake beard that Mira carefully applied to his face. I can understand why some passengers might be uneasy about our appearance. For now, I only have to wear a headscarf, but that will change when we reach our destination. Ben leans back and falls asleep, but I can't seem to get comfortable, at least not comfortable enough to sleep. Irina complains in Russian. Dasha, sit still and go to sleep. I counter. Irina, I can't get comfortable. She reminds me. Dasha, this flight lasts close to 1 day and you require sleep. I say, I know how long this fight is, but I'm not sleepy. Ira states, then don't keep me awake. I look and notice Mira is asleep, so decide I will try again. Dasha is having a not unforeseen problem. I tried to instruct her she needed to stay up later last night, but she wanted to copulate with Valentine, so they went to bed earlier than they should have. I have been impressed with Valentine's composure since I was not sure that he could resist his natural urges to fight. But when the idiot behind us made a scene, Valentine handled it perfectly. Finally, Dasha somnolates. Miranda is already somnolating, but I am required to remain awake to protect us. Miranda will awake later, and then I can somnolate. I am excited about this mission and returning to my home country, even though it will be brief. I flex my muscles, which are still slightly sore from our training sessions with Destiny. Additionally, sitting in this uncomfortable seat for such an extended time is not healthy. I retrieve the book I have been reading and begin to read. Present, Liz, Bernie, and Desiree at the cabin. Today's the day for my and Desiree's checkup with the doctor. We never did get around to seeing a doctor in Leadville, so this means a trip to Denver. Bernie asks, Liz, is there anything else we need in Denver? I think for a moment and suggest, yeah, Bernie, As always, we can use more diapers. Bernie begins a list and says, okay, Liz, what else? Mabel makes special food for Desiree, so thank God we don't need baby food. Plus, we know that Mabel's food is natural and she makes it with such love. I lie a little to Bernie. I need some feminine items. Bernie looks sad and I say, don't worry, Bernie, we will be back to normal soon. Bernie complains, I'm tired of not having sex with Liz and now she's trying to make me believe she's having her period. I looked things up on the internet and found out that was bullshit, so I complain, Liz, I have some serious concerns about our sex life. Liz looks at me and frankly says, Bernie, you might not believe this, but I'm still sore. And I sure as hell don't want another baby immediately. Since I'm feeding Desiree, I sure as hell can't go on the pill, so you'd better put condoms on that list of yours. I want to complain, but the look Liz gives me tells me if I ever want to have sex again, I'd better keep my mouth shut. On a hopeful note, I do add condoms to my list. Liz begins to get Desiree ready to go to the doctor as I get myself ready. Present, Samantha, Vic's house for dinner and visiting Stacy. On the way to Vic's house, I say, we need to make a couple of stops first. Vic replies, okay, where are we stopping? I order, first let's stop by the restaurant and pick up a bottle of wine for dinner. Then we're stopping by a florist. Like a typical man, Vic asks, why a florist? I state, Vic, you're buying flowers for Mallory tonight. Vic waffles, Samantha, if I do that, I'm afraid it will make her think we're having an affair. I complain, Vic, don't tell me you never bring Mallory flowers. Vic shyly interrupts, Samantha, I haven't done that in a very long time. I complain, what in the hell? No wonder she thinks we're having an affair. Vic, don't be so dense. You're bringing her flowers tonight, even if I have to pay for them. We stop at the restaurant. Henri the chef sees us and says, good. What can I make you two for dinner? I reply, sorry, Henri. We're eating at Vic's house tonight, so I was hoping that we could just pick up a bottle of wine for dinner. Henri laments, since Stacy closed the restaurant, I don't have enough work. Perhaps I will quit and find something more challenging. I need to do something, so I suggest, Henri, don't do that. After we have dinner tonight, I'm going to visit Stacy, and I will try to talk her into reopening the restaurant. Henri smiles and asks, what are you having for dinner? I look at Vic and Vic responds, I don't know, why? Henri begins to swear in French and answers, so I know what wine to give you. Vic comments, I never thought of that, which only prompts more swearing from Henri. I suggest, Henri, why don't you give us one bottle of white and one bottle of red? He replies, yes, since this big oaf doesn't know what his wife is cooking, that's the only solution. He brings out the wine and says, please, Samantha, see if Stacy will reopen the restaurant. I kiss him on the cheek and promise, Henri, of course I will do that for you. We leave and Vic says, damn, he sure is excitable for a man. I giggle and inform him, Vic, he's French, so of course he isn't afraid to express his feelings. Unlike present company. Vic complains, I express my feelings all the time. I counter, and you did that by bringing Mallory flowers when? It's Vic's turn to complain, women. I smile at him and say, that's right. Mallory and I are women, and we do like flowers. So don't forget to stop at the florist. Vic reluctantly stops at the florist. We go inside, and I ask, okay, Vic, what are Mallory's favorite flowers? Vic shrugs his shoulders and says, I don't know. The florist laughs and suggests, well, you can never go wrong with long stem roses. I agree, you're right. Vic will take a dozen of them. Vic spouts, I will. I glare at him and say, that's right, a dozen long stem roses. The florist comes out with the roses, puts them in a nice box with baby's breath and some ribbons. It looks great, so I compliment her. Those look beautiful. Vic grumbles, yeah, they do look okay. How much do I owe you? The florist tells him, that will be $100. Vic practically has a cow, what that's? I interrupt. Vic, that's a bargain in Leadville. I pull out my credit card, pay the florist, we head to the car, and I order, Vic, if you dare tell Mallory that I paid for the flowers, I will fire you. We get to their cute house. Mallory comes to the door carrying a boy who I assume is Gregory. We walk up to the house. Vic hands Mallory the box of roses and Mallory says, Vic, it's been forever since you brought me flowers. She gives him a big kiss and continues, here, hold Greg while I put these in a vase. We walk inside their beautiful home while Mallory is in the kitchen looking for a vase. I elbow Vic and say, see, I told you she would love them. She's beaming when she comes out of the kitchen. The roses are in a vase. She walks over to Vic again and says, thank you, Samantha, for making Vic buy me roses. I counter, Mallory, it wasn't. Mallory hold up her hand and interrupts. Samantha, I know my Victor, and he doesn't do things like buy my flowers. So I know you prompted it. I apologize and berate Vic. Mallory, I'm sorry, but some men are so dense. She hugs Vic and replies, yes, they are, but I still love him in spite of it. I hold out the bottles of wine and say, we brought both of these for you because since Vic didn't know what you made for dinner. Mallory giggles and says, Thank you, Samantha, for being so thoughtful. Perhaps some of that might rub off on Victor. Why don't you have a seat at the table, and I will bring the salad. We sit at the table. Mallory brings out a great-looking salad and puts it on the table, then says, "Let's pray before we eat." We bow our heads, and Mallory prays, "God, thank you for the food we are about to eat. Thank you for the wonderful job you've given my husband, and thank you for our little boy." Vic joins in on the amen. Then he grabs the salad, and Mallory scolds him. "Vic, Samantha is our guest. Let her have the salad first." I giggle, take the salad, put some on my plate, and we begin to talk by saying, "Mallory, I want you to know that nothing is going on between myself and Vic." Mallory giggles and admits, "Samantha, I already knew that." Vic complains, "Mallory, that's not what you told me." Mallory replies, "Of course not, Victor. I told you that so that you would invite Samantha here, I could thank her for your job. So Samantha, thank you for trusting Victor and giving him this wonderful job and of course finding this house." I smile at Mallory and say, "Well, I'm glad that you trust us together since I was worried you were going to be jealous." Mallory giggles again and says, "No, I know my Victor is devoted to Gregory and me. Our marriage might not be perfect, but it works for us." I smile at her and tell her about my disaster of a marriage. Mallory is shocked and says, "How do you deal with it?" I reply, "It's easy. I've completely given up on men." Then the conversation turns to why we went to New Orleans today. Vic complains, "Mallory, you won't believe it. It was an honest-to-God witch hunt." Mallory laughs. "Victor, what are you talking about?" Vic explains, "Mallory, I think the whole world has gone insane. Samantha, Bill, and Stacy believe that Jennifer Blaine is a witch." Mallory surprises me when she says, "Victor, that's not strange because I'm sure there are still witches in the world." I add, "Thanks, Mallory." Stacy found a bunch of information on how Jennifer Blaine's family had descended from a long line of witches. Mallory nods her head and says, "Yes, I've read that witchcraft runs in families." She looks at Vic and commands, "Victor, you be careful around that woman." We finish dinner, and I say, "Well, I'm headed to Denver tonight to talk with Stacy." Vic says, "Okay, let me get my gear, and I will be right with you." I counter, "Vic, it's too late for you to be coming to Denver with me. Stay here with Mallory, since it seems like you have some things to discuss." Mallory laughs and says, "Samantha, there's no way Victor is letting you go to Denver by yourself." She looks at Vic and orders, "Honey, have a safe trip and take care of my new friend Samantha." We leave together, and Vic heads toward Denver. Present, Stacy, in a new room. The agent come up to me and says, "Stacy Summers, you have a visitor. You know the drill." "Yes, I do." I turn toward the wall. He comes up and searches me, then of course adds the shackles. He leads me to a room, connects me to the table. Samantha walks in and says, "I heard from Bill you got a new room." I reply, "Yeah, this one has a TV in it and a private bathroom." "So what did you find out in New Orleans?" Samantha replies about white witches and black witches and how the witch bitch, because she is a white witch, couldn't put a love spell on Ben. I ask, "So there's nothing I can do about it?" Samantha answers, "No, Stacy, there's nothing that can be done." I grab at straws. "What if I got another witch to put a spell on the witch bitch?" Sam shakes her head and explains, "Stacy, no white witch would do that. It would have to be a black witch, and it would cause huge problems for you." I reply, "I'm not sure I could be in much more trouble than I am right now." Sam explains, "Stacy, the black witches are evil and require part of your soul if they do anything for you. That's too high of a price, even for Ben." I can tell Sam has more information that she's not telling me, but I don't want to ask her now. Present, Jens, Dasha, Ben, Valentine, Ira, and Mira on the mission. The pilot comes on the intercom and announces, "Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts as we will be landing at Almaty International Airport in a few minutes." I am so thankful this long trip is finally over. I was lucky and slept some while Valentine appears to have slept great. We exit the airplane and head to the luggage claim. I know what's coming once we get our luggage, and I'm dreading it. Even though I'm excited to be on our mission, I remember my training and continue my respectful attitude toward Valentine. Our bags take forever to arrive, and it takes even longer for the diplomatic box to arrive. When everything finally arrives, Valentine orders, "To the bathrooms for you three." I reluctantly head to the bathroom with Mira and Ira. We each take a separate stall, and I begin to put on the part of my costume I'm dreading. I have it on, exit the stall, move to the mirrors, adjust it correctly, and wait for Ira and Mira. They are lucky and don't have to wear my costume, as they both assured us it would be better if they wore their normal uniform in their country. They exit their stalls and are wearing the coolest body armor I have ever seen. I comment, "That's the best body armor I've ever seen. I wish I could get some like that." Ira replies, "Unfortunately, the man who created this for us was terminated." Mira comes over and adjusts my head covering a little and then comments, "We must not keep Valentine waiting." We exit the bathroom, and the response to the twins is shocking and immediate. The people who see them quickly look away and make sure to give them a wide berth. We find Valentine, and he complains. What took so long? I know I need to do this, so I apologize. Sorry, my husband. It will not happen again. Ira leads the way. Ben takes his place in front of me, and Mira takes up the rear. I seriously doubted Ira and Myra's assertion that while we're in Kazakhstan, they should wear their body armor. I incorrectly assumed it was because they didn't want to wear a burqa like Dasha. I say incorrectly, because the fright exhibited on the faces of everyone shocks me, and it is evident that their appearance will be quite beneficial to our mission. Ira marches us up to the taxi stand, looks over the taxis, finds one to her liking, and we head toward it. It's a newer Toyota minivan, where the driver practically falls over himself getting our bags. Ira takes the front seat while I, Dasha, and Mira take the rear seats. The driver carefully loads our bags into the back of the taxi, takes the driver's seat, and Ira commands, Holiday Inn. Take us to the Holiday Inn. The driver responds, yes, immediately. Yeah, it's a Holiday Inn, but it's rated as the best hotel in Almaty. As we drive from the airport, I'm surprised by the diversity of the population. It doesn't take long. We arrive at the hotel, and I ask, how much do we owe you? The driver replies, nothing. It is an honor to transport the angels of death. Ira steps out of the taxi and takes up a defensive position. Mira exits the rear door and does likewise. Their action causes some concern in me because I am not aware of any specific threat. The hotel staff runs out and begins to take our luggage into the hotel. Once the luggage is inside, Ira leads the way again, and we all tag along. We arrive at the hotel desk. The fear is evident on the face of the young desk clerk as she says, and hands the keys to Ira. Here are the keys to your 2 rooms. Ira demands. We are tired from our travels. However, we would enjoy it if some snacks were brought to our rooms. The desk clerk inquires. What would you prefer? Mira suggests. Some dried fish and Baltica. I counter. I cannot eat that. I would prefer 2 salads with chicken on them. The desk clerk replies. I will personally make sure your order is correct. Ira hands the keys to the waiting bellhop. He takes us to the elevator, and we all get in. He makes a mistake when he asks me, you are married to the angels of death? Ira barks at him. Do not talk to our husband. He turns whiter than I thought was possible and apologizes. We arrive on our floor. The bellhop brings our bags to each room, opens the door, and quickly leaves. I open my suitcase, pull out my bug detector, and begin to scan the room. It makes me happy when the room comes back clean. I look at Jens and say, wow, you must really like it in the burqa. Jens complains, like heck I do. I was just waiting for you to make sure the room was clean. As she begins to strip out of her burqa, I'm watching her and tease, you know there's something to be said for you wearing one of those. Jens glares at me and counters, Ben, don't get any crazy ideas. It was hell wearing it, and I need a shower. I reply, okay, I'm going to take the detector to the twins' room. Jen giggles. I couldn't believe how people treated them. I felt like we were with celebrities. I respond, I never thought I would see so much fear in people. I'll see you in a few. And I head toward the door. Jens suggests as I'm leaving, Ben, how about when you come back to our room, you wash my back in the shower? I grin at her and tease, just your back? Are you sure nothing else needs washing? Jens sticks her tongue out at me and runs into the bathroom. I knock on the twins' door and Ira says, who is there? I order, open the damn door. Ira opens the door. I hand her the bug detector, then I suggest, you two might want to shower. Ira smiles and replies, Miranda is already in the shower. I'm next. We will come over later and discuss the plans for tomorrow. I grin at her and say, we're going to be busy for a little while, so don't hurry. Ira shakes her head and complains, don't tell me. I interrupt. Okay, I won't tell you. I head back into our room, and I'm surprised when the young desk clerk shows up with 2 trays. She says, sir, here are your salads. I take the tray and thank her. Thank you very much. She then delivers the nasty dried fish to the twins. I secretly wish I could have a beer, but I know I can't. I set the tray on the bed and head into the shower with Jens. I make sure I wash her back twice. We dry off, head into the room. I uncover the salads, and I'm shocked. It's more like 2 complete meals than just a salad. Jens gushes, I'm so happy to be eating real food and not that airplane crap. I concur. Yeah, I was dying for some real protein. We finish our meals, turn on the TV, and enjoy holding each other as we watch some local news. There's a knock on our door. As prearranged, Jens dashes into the bathroom, and I answer the door. Who is there? Ira says, your other 2 wives. I open the door. Jens comes out of the bathroom, and we finalize the plans for tomorrow. Present, Liz, Bernie, and Desiree at the doctor's. Desiree's checkup at the doctor's is great. She's right where she should be with her weight and size. Now it's my turn, and the doctor begins to examine me. I wince in pain and the doctor asks, Liz, have you been doing your Kegel exercises? Pelvic floor exercise, also known as Kegel exercise, consists of repeatedly contracting and relaxing the muscles that form part of the pelvic floor, now sometimes colloquially referred to as the Kegel muscles. The exercise needs to be performed multiple times each day, for several minutes at a time, and for 1 to 3 months, to begin to have an effect. I confess, some, but probably not enough. He scolds, that's what I thought. Liz, because you haven't done them enough is why you're still experiencing pain. Bernie offers, Doctor, I can make sure she does them more. I glare at him because I know this is about him wanting sex again, and the doctor says, Bernie, Liz has to be motivated to do them herself. If you force her to do them, then they won't be as beneficial. I ask the doctor, please tell my sex-crazed husband that I won't be able to have sex for some time. The doctor looks at Bernie and says, Bernie, you need to be patient with Liz on this. While she's in pain, she isn't going to want sex. I ask further, Doctor, could you also mention family planning to Bernie? The doctor addresses Bernie again. Liz is right, Bernie. There is a small chance that Liz could become pregnant again, and we can't provide her with certain medications while she's nursing Desiree. The doctor then gives me a schedule for specific exercises and adds, Liz, soon you should be able to do more strenuous activities. Bernie rats me out, but doctor, we've already been running a little with our new baby jogger. The doctor again scolds me. Liz, I told you not to get crazy about losing the baby weight. As you continue to feed Desiree, you will continue to lose it. Now if there's nothing else, I have other patients to see. We leave the office and I complain, thanks Bernie for telling the doctor about us running. Bernie becomes snarky with his reply, no problem Liz, I didn't want to be the only one the doctor was scolding. Present, Samantha, getting ready to leave Stacy in prison. I gave Stacy most of the news about witches that I had been told. I did leave out that Marie Laveau's relative. I figured out who the old woman was in New Orleans, could contact black witches. I remember something and changed the subject. Stacy, I almost forgot. Henri is really depressed about you closing the restaurant and is talking about quitting. Stacy looks at me and replies, you wouldn't believe the crap they try to feed me here. Then the agent inferred there was rat shit in the food. I asked, did you eat it? Stacy laughs. No. I threw it at him, but unfortunately it missed. You can see the stain it left on the floor. I think for a moment and ask, Stacy, it doesn't sound like the agents here like you very much. Stacy glares and says, like me hell. Sam, they hate me. I can understand some of the animosity towards Stacy, but I thought they were professional enough to not let it influence their care for her. I probe further. Have they done anything else that was bad? Stacy shocks me slightly when she says, yeah, every time they put these shackles on me, they feel me up. I shake my head and remark, so they don't have a woman agent search you before putting those shackles on you? Stacy replies, Sam, I've never seen a female agent my whole time here. At least in this room, I have a private bathroom. In the old room, the men could watch every time I went to the bathroom. I was more than a little angry at the treatment of my BFF, so I promise, Stacy, I'm going to have a talk with the agents here about how you're being treated. Stacy smiles at me and says, thanks Sam for sticking beside me. I know what I did was wrong, but I went a little crazy when I found out about the witch bitch. A little crazy is putting it mildly, but I don't want to upset Stacy more than she already is. I bring the conversation around again to Henri and ask, Stacy, you never told me what you want to do about Henri? Stacy thinks for a moment and asks, whatever happened to Inga? I reply, she's back with Tom at the Blaine's cabin. Stacy looks sad and says, well, I guess I messed up with her when I closed the restaurant. I offer, if you want I will talk to her about reopening the restaurant. Stacy smiles and says, Sam, that would be great. The agent comes in and says, your visit is over. They take Stacy back to her new cell, locate the agent who asked me for a date and ask him, could you please tell me why Stacy Summers' rights are being ignored? He pauses and replies, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I inform him, I just found out that when she is searched it's by male agents. Look, I know what she did is wrong, but having her searched by male agents is also not right. He foolishly complains, Samantha, did you know she threw her food at me? I attack, did you tell her the food contained rat shit? He gives me an embarrassed look and admits, yeah, we're all sort of angry at her around here. I threaten, I think I see a news story here. Perhaps I will come back tomorrow with my cameraman. He apologizes, Samantha, you don't need to do that. I will talk with the other guys, and we will let up on her. I smile at him and tease, that's good news because even though she did something terrible, she is my BFF, and if anyone treats my BFF badly, I take it personally. I could never respect any man that treated any woman badly. He escorts me to Vic. We leave together and head back to Leadville. Present, Stacy, in a new room. It was good to see Sam again and even better, but also a little depressing, getting the information about witches that she found in New Orleans. I could tell that she was hiding something from me, But because she's my BFF, I'm not going to offend her by asking about it. The agent brings me a new tray of food. I glare at him and demand, "What's this? Are you trying to poison me again?" I'm in shock when he apologizes, sorry about the food earlier and for the rat shit comment. This food is from one of the local diners and should be better than what I brought in before. This makes me happy because it means that Sam kept her word to me and talked to the agents. I take the tray and thank him. "Thank you for this food. It's probably more than I will eat, but it does look and smell better than the other food." He comments, "We all eat there occasionally, and it's not bad." He also informs me, "We have also requested a female agent from headquarters be assigned here for you." I smile at him, and while they aren't big victories, they are still victories. 2 weeks later, Ben, Valentin, Jens, Dasha, Ira, and Mira on the mission. I can't believe how well the mission is going, and so far there have been no problems whatsoever. We pick up the devices we need in Kazakhstan, substitute them for the items that the diplomatic box already contained, close it up, and make sure the diplomatic seals were evident. The diplomatic shipments are thanks to Mira and Ira and are necessary for the mission. We already made one stop to drop off one item from the diplomatic box and are headed to the second stop. Dasha was finally less peeved because she is no longer the only one wearing a burqa since both Mira and Ira are subject to that torture, as Dasha described it to me when we were in a private place without listening devices. After stopping in Mecca, we are now headed to Medina to the Mosque of the Prophet to drop off another item from the diplomatic box. We were on the nice as hell Haramain high-speed railway instead of an airplane because it was only 339 kilometers between the cities. Also, the security on the train wasn't as high as on the plane. We had one more stop after this, but the security there was going to be hell. If we're going to get caught, it will be there. Thank God we have a different strategy for that country. I don't think we could have brought the devices we used in Mecca and are going to use in Medina into that country without being caught. It was about time that Mira and Ira had to follow the same dress code as me. I considered complaining to Valentin, but I knew he would just dismiss it and tell me to drop it. At least the train had good air conditioning, so I wasn't drenched in sweat. But there wasn't much to see out the window. I knew that would change once we stopped. Valentin made a joke that irritated me. I glared at him and let him know I wasn't amused. He quickly apologized when he realized I wasn't letting it slide. The train arrived at the station, and it was time to start sweating again. We stepped outside, and the heat hit me instantly. Our luggage and the diplomatic box arrived, so Valentin approached a taxi to negotiate our ride to the hotel. One thing I really disliked about this part of the trip, no separate rooms. Instead, we had to share one large room with Mira and Ira. That meant no privacy whatsoever. At one point, I suggested they take a walk, but they reminded me of the local rules. Great. Just another reminder of how different things were here. Valentin comes to an agreement on a taxi, and the driver comes over, takes our bags accompanied by the diplomatic box, and loads them into the taxi. We all climb in and are off to our hotel, the Medina Oberoi. I couldn't wait to get to our room, escape this frackin' torture device, and take a shower. Perhaps Valentin might even shower with me because I was going a little crazy from not making whoopee with him. I am very pleased with the progress of this mission and look forward to its completion after one more stop. I will even be more thankful when we dispose of this device in the diplomatic box because I am tasked to carry it in a false pregnancy stomach. In the next country, because of a change in strategy, both Mira and I will perpetrate the charade. I don't understand why anyone would willingly wear such a stifling outfit in this heat. I share Dasha's frustration with it. As we drive to the hotel, she leans over and says something to Valentin, who finally orders the driver to turn on the air conditioning, giving me some much-needed relief. We arrive at the hotel, and the bellhop comes out with his cart, loads up the diplomatic box and our suitcases, and takes us into the lobby. I'm surprised. The place is incredibly nice. Too bad we're only staying for the night. When we get to our room, I find it a bit odd. There are 3 beds. I figure it works out, though. Dasha and I will take one while Mira and Ira get their own. As soon as the bellhop leaves, Dasha starts removing her outer covering. I stop her, saying, "Dasha, not until I sweep the room." She groans, "Valentin, hurry up, I want a shower." I take the bug detector out of my suitcase, begin to sweep the room, and unfortunately, it finds a bug. I call the front desk and complain in Farsi. This room is totally unsuitable for us. They apologize profusely. The bellhop comes again and moves us to a different room. This room unfortunately has 2 large beds, so I guess Mira and Ira will double up. I sweep this room. It comes back clean, and Dasha complains. It's about time. She strips off her burqa as I'm watching and says, "I'm going to shower. Does anyone want to join me?" I catch her drift and reply, "I'll be right in with you," and begin to take off my clothes. Mira complains, "Mr. and Ms. Blaine, please do not take too long copulating. We still need a shower." Dasha laughs and teases, just for that we might copulate twice. It was good to have sex again with my wife. Sharing a room to keep up appearances was driving both of us crazy. We made up for it in the shower when we did the deed twice. As we came out of the shower, Mira, wearing a robe, dashed into the shower. Dasha laughs and says, I warned her. Ira states, I checked the device in the diplomatic box. It's still functional. What should we order for dinner? I find the restaurant menu, look it over, and nod in approval. I'm thinking I'll get a steak, I suggest. Dasha adds, that sounds good to me. I remind them, just a heads up, the steak will only be served well done. Ira considers this for a moment. I think I prefer chicken. I hand her the menu, and after scanning it, she decides, Mira and I will have chicken Kiev. I remind her, that will come without the usual bacon. Ira dismissively waves her hand and says, that is fine with me. I call and place the order. Of course, they don't even ask how I want the steaks cooked. Mira finishes her shower, and Ira heads into the shower while Mira complains, how many times did you copulate in the shower? Dasha grins at her and answers, twice of course, but don't worry, we might take another shower later. Mira chides, you two are like young teenagers. Dasha interrupts with a counter. You're wrong, since we're worse than that. Before it gets out of hand, I say, Ira told me to order you chicken Kiev. Mira says, that is good as I am very hungry. Dasha agrees. Yeah, it's hard work wearing a burqa all day. I get into trouble when I say, I don't know. It's sort of nice seeing everyone wearing the same thing. Dasha complains, so Valentine, you'd rather see me wearing a burqa or one of my LBDs. I retreat and admit defeat. Sorry, my love. I was just kidding. Ira comes out of the bathroom and complains, Mira, you partook of all the towels. Mira giggles, and I know there's going to be a fight, so I say, don't worry, I will call the desk and ask for more. I make the call, and in just a few minutes there's a knock on the door. All three women dash into the bathroom. I open the door and find it's our meals. The waiter sets up the food and leaves, so immediately the women run out of the bathroom and begin to attack the meals. Ira complains, I miss the dried fish and beer. Mira agrees, yes, it was good partaking of that again in Kazakhstan. I fake gagging and complain, when I was in Russia, that was part of my MRE and I wouldn't eat it. Ira asks, don't tell me you threw it away. I smile and say, no, I fed it to Destiny. They give me a strange look and Dasha questions, Destiny was in Russia with you? I decided a long answer was in order, so I tell them about my mission in Russia. When I finish, Mira remarks, Mr. Blaine, we did not know of this mission. And pray tell, how did Destiny translocate to Russia? I reply, even though Destiny didn't come with us on this mission, I think if I really needed her, she would be here rather quickly, and I've never really asked about how she does things. There's another knock on the door, and once again the women run into the bathroom. I open the door, and it's the towels I asked for. They hear the door close, come back out of the bathroom, and we finish our dinners. When we're finished with dinner, I suggest we should get some sleep. Ira complains, I hope you two will not attempt coitus and keep us awake. Dasha says brightly, hey, I didn't think of that. Mira complains, Mrs. Blaine, do not lie. We know you always think about coitus. Dasha giggles and states, I was a good girl and waited until I was married, so now I can think about it as much as I want. We turn out the lights and Dasha tries to talk me into sex. Sometime later, Liz and Desiree at the cabin. The cabin was finished about a week ago, and we moved out of the tunnels and into a really nice room, which of course made Bernie happier. Tom held a big celebration party where Mabel made her usual great food and even experimented with some tapas. Our room was incredible. It even had a little anteroom for Desiree, which Tom had decorated nicely for our little girl. OMG, she was so cute and sweet. I couldn't believe how much fun it was taking care of her. It seemed like every day she did something that made us laugh. The only problem was Yince wasn't here to enjoy this with me. My phone rings. It is Samantha, so I answer and ask, hello Sam, what do you need? Samantha says, Liz, many of the viewers at the station are clamoring for a new story on Ben and Jennifer. I interrupt. Sorry Sam, but they aren't here right now, and I don't know when they will be back. Sam picks up on the hidden part of my answer and replies, I suppose I shouldn't try to figure out where they are. She pauses for a moment to think, then continues, Liz, do you have any ideas about a story I can do on them to keep our viewers happy? I think for a moment and suggest, Sam, the cabin is finished, so if Tom approves, you could do a story on the cabin. Sam ponders my suggestion for a few short moments and says, you know, it could sort of be like a phoenix story, the cabin rising out of the ashes. I like her ideas and expand on them. While you're at it, you could interview the young mothers who were the root of the ashes and ask them how they feel about what they did. Sam asks, young mothers? Don't tell me that Zurika and Safia had their babies. I laugh and explain, they certainly did. It's like Baby Central here right now. Sam enumerates, let's see, there's Desiree, Jennifer, and the two babies from Zurika and Safia. With all those babies, How does anyone get any sleep? I explain, I don't know much about Safia's and Zarika's babies since they more or less stay to themselves with Alexei. Bernie is such a help that my sleep is okay, and Maria is old enough to sleep through the night. The worst problem is the diapers. If this keeps up, we will need to have them delivered by the semi-truckload and open our own sanitary landfill. Sam giggles and says, heck, I could probably do a story on how everyone is living in the cabin with so many babies around. I remember something, so I ask, Sam, there might be a story that you could cover when Alexei marries Zarika, Safia, and Yasmin. Sam pauses for a moment and asks, wait, he's going to marry all three of them? How in the world can he do that? I inform her. He says it's a tradition from Kazakhstan that he can have more than one wife. Sam raises some doubt. I'm not sure about that in this country, but I will look into it. And why would one man want more than one wife? I reply, I have no idea, and I know I sure as hell don't want another husband, because there are times it's like having two babies. Sam laughs and says, okay, Liz, I will give Tom a call about doing an interview on the cabin being rebuilt. Do you have a way for me to contact Zarika and Yasmin about them burning down the cabin? I promise, Sam, I will get that information for you. The call is over. I hang up the phone and wonder where Bernie is. Sometime later, Bernie and Linus at the cabin. I lament, Linus, I can't believe it. Liz still says she's too sore to have sex. It's been forever since we've done anything. Linus confirms my fears. Bernie, I tried to tell you it wouldn't be the same. Maria and I were like rabbits before she had Jennifer, and now there's always something that seems to ruin the mood. I continue, Linus, I love Desiree, but sometimes I resent the fact that she's ruined our sex life. Linus nods his head and consoles his pal. Bernie, it will get better as Desiree gets older. I interrupt. Well, it sure doesn't sound like it's gotten better for you, because you still have problems. Linus continues, Bernie, as Desiree gets older, she will become more fun to take care of. Plus, there's always a few ways to rile up the wife. I sort of like the sound of that, so I ask, like what sort of ways? Linus enumerates, for you this will work, but it didn't work for me because of Maria being in the army. Make sure you buy her lots of boy dolls like G.I. Joes to play with, and while you're at it, you can add some toy guns to the list of toys. I rub my hands together and say, yeah, that will get Liz's goat. Liz comes on the PA and says, Bernie, I'm in the room, and I was wondering if you want to go for a walk. Linus teases, the old ball and chain beckons. I counter, hey, I've heard Maria call you on the intercom more times than Liz has called me. I pick up Linus and Maria's phone and call Liz in our room. Sometime later, Samantha, new interviews. Even though Stacy is still in prison, I've successfully moved into my castle. It's everything I dreamed it would be. No, it's even better than that. I've visited Stacy many more times. My comment to the guards about a woman agent and Stacy getting better food have worked. Her trial starts soon, and once again, Stacy's lawyers are trying for an insanity plea. The viewers have been calling the station and asking about a new story on Ben and Jennifer. I figured I could just call them, set up a time, and do the interview. Now I find out they are gone somewhere mysterious, and I could tell Liz doesn't know anything about the location. Liz did have some good ideas about other interviews that might satisfy some of the viewers. I no sooner hang up with Liz when my phone rings. It's the station manager. I answer, and he says, Samantha, we're still getting calls for information on Ben and Jennifer. I deliver the bad news. Well, they are gone somewhere, so there won't be any interviews. However, Liz and I came up with a couple of ideas. I pitched my ideas, and the manager said, those are really good, and I like the phoenix rising out of the ashes idea. Do you think you can get an interview with the two girls who burnt down the cabin? I reply, I can only try and see what they say, but if I hit them with a guilt trip, it might help. We hang up, and I call Tom's mobile phone. He answers and says, Samantha, what can I do for you? I begin with a little begging. Tom, the viewers have been clamoring for a story on Ben and Jennifer. Since they are gone somewhere, I was hoping we could get a look at the cabin now that it's finished. Tom says, sure, most of it you can see, but some of the security details will be off limits. I pitch Tom my idea about interviewing Zarika and Yasmin. He laughs and agrees. Hell yes, you can interview them. And if they try to give you any shit about it, I will throw their butts out on the street where they belong. I chuckle and reply, that means that the twins must also be gone, otherwise you could never threaten that. Tom complains, yeah, they are gone too, so there's no one to ride herd on that sex-crazed brother of theirs. I query, what's going on with Alexei? Tom says, shit, he's anything that's horizontal. He already has 2 babies, and now he's impregnated Yasmin. And if I understand right, he started in again with Zarika. I ask, I heard he's going to marry all 3 of them. Tom scoffs, not in this country he won't. It's not legal here. If he wants to marry them, he needs to do it in Kazakhstan. Don't worry, I will make sure you get an interview with Zarika and Yasmin. I reply, okay, let me round up John, and I will be right over. Tom says, okay, Let me go make sure that the royal scumsucker and his harem are presentable. I open the front door. Vic is waiting on the porch for me. He asks, "Where are we going today?" I reply, "We're headed to pick up John and the camera gear, then over to the Blaine's cabin to do some interviews." Vic questions, "I thought Ben and Jennifer were missing." We begin to walk up the hill, and I answer, "They are, so I'm filming the cabin and the two girls who burnt the old cabin to the ground." Vic suggests, "Now that the restaurant is open again, we can come back here for lunch." I grin at Vic and say, "I don't know. We might stay at the cabin and have some of Mabel's cooking. She gives Henri a run for his money." Vic says, "I didn't know that." He thinks, and then continues, "I will make sure I don't have a run-in with the old fart again." I laugh and reply, "You mean Tom? I thought you guys patched everything up between you." Vic shakes his head. He's a stubborn old shit and won't accept any of my apologies. I suggest, perhaps if you took him a bottle of whiskey, he'd forgive you. Vic says, "Yeah, that's a great idea. I wonder what his poison is." I reply, "Well, I do know that when Ben lost the bet to him about Liz's baby, he bought Tom a bottle of Knob Creek." Vic asks, "You think we could stop by a liquor store on the way?" I smile and say, "Why not? The cabin isn't going anywhere, and it will give Tom a chance to get the girls ready for the interviews." We pick up John and his camera gear, grab a van, and head to the cabin, stopping by a liquor store on the way. They don't have Knob Creek, so Vic buys a bottle of Jack Daniels. When we arrive, we're shocked because there is no longer just one gate. We have to make it through 2 gates. We travel through the second gate, and Tom is there in his car. He walks up to the van and says, "Come on, I will escort you to the cabin." We follow Tom's car, not to the garage, but to another wall in front of the cabin. A security team comes up to the van and says, "Please exit the van so you can be searched." Inga waves me over and says, "Don't worry, I will search you, Samantha." While Vic and John are searched by the other security detail, Tom tells Vic, "You will need to leave all your weapons in the van." Vic says, "Yeah, I remember from last time, and this time I'm not carrying a knife. However, I did get this for you in hopes that you will finally forgive me." Vic hands the bottle of Jack Daniels to Tom. Tom looks at it and remarks, "Thanks for the gift. This is almost bourbon." Vic sputters, "But I thought it was." Tom interrupts, "Most people do assume it's bourbon. However, because it's charcoal filtered, it's actually Tennessee whiskey. Come on inside, and we'll share a snort or two." I ask, "Tom, are the girls ready to be interviewed?" Tom swears, "Those little bitches were still sleeping." I kicked their butts out of bed and told them to get ready. We head into the cabin, and Inga says, "Samantha, I will be showing you all the features of the cabin." We spend about 20 minutes on the cabin, with the most interesting part being that the cabin, even though it looks like wood, isn't wood anymore. Inga told us that the original wood was destroyed in the 2 fires, so now it's made of concrete that resembles wood and is impervious to bullets. Even the windows are bulletproof glass. Tom brings Zarika and Yasmin into the big hall and says, "Samantha, here you go. As I promised, they will answer any question you have." John sets up the camera on its tripod. I take the chair across from them, nod at John, and begin, "Hello, America. Samantha Stevens here, continuing the interview at the Blaine's cabin. We are going to interview the 2 girls who maliciously destroyed the Blaine's cabin. On the left is Zarika, and on the right is Yasmin. Please tell me, girls, what prompted you to destroy the original cabin?" Yasmin looks down and replies, "Miss Stevens, it was my idea. I was angry that Ben did not invite us to his wedding." Zarika adds, "It may have been Yasmin's idea, but we did it together." Yasmin apologizes, "At the time I was angry, but now I realize what a terrible thing we did to Ben and Jennifer, especially since they had helped us so much." I continue, "Can you both explain what Ben and Jennifer have done for you?" Yasmin says, "Not only did Ben rescue us from the sex slavery ring, he also brought me to his country." Zarika answers, "Yes, Ben saved us from the sex slavery ring, but before that, he saved me from some terrible men in Afghanistan and then brought me to this country. I thought I was going to be his first wife." Yasmin adds, "And I should have been his second wife." I probe further, "Did Ben promise either of you he would marry you?" They both reply, "No, Miss Stevens, he didn't. But it is a custom in Afghanistan, and we had our dreams." I smile at them and ask, "Zarika, I hear you have a baby, and Yasmin, I hear that you are expecting a baby." Zarika replies, "Yes, Miss Stevens. I have a wonderful boy named Alexander Jr. after his father Alexei." Yasmin says, "Yes, I am also carrying Alexei's baby." I continue, "I understand that Alexei also has another child?" Zarika responds, "Yes, he had a daughter with Safia. She's named Miranda after one of his sisters." Yasmin blurts out, "I hope the viewers don't think we're crazy. We all love Alexei, and he's going to marry us." I reply, "You are aware that polygamy is not legal in the United States." Zarika interrupts, "Yes, Miss Stevens, we know that. We will be married in Alexei's home country of Kazakhstan." I ask, "Where will you live after the weddings?" Yasmin says, "I assume we will come back here and live at the cabin." Zarika says, "Yes, we have such a nice and large room here." I could not imagine living anywhere else. I smile at the two of them and say, so even though you destroyed the old cabin, Ben and Jennifer still allow you to live here. How does that make you feel? Yasmin hangs her head and confesses, Ms. Stevens, we did a really bad thing which we can never make up for. Both Ben and Jennifer have forgiven us when we didn't deserve it. I smile once more and say, thank you Yasmin and Zarika for the interview. Sometime in the future, Stacy, watching the news report. Things are dragging on with my trial. My lawyers once again are trying to prove that I'm crazy, especially because I continue to call the witch bitch a witch. Hey, I'm just calling a spade a spade. I did find out that I could hire a black witch to cast a love spell on Ben. However, Samantha was right. It would cost me part of my soul, and I wasn't willing to subject myself to that. I'm watching with great interest as my BFF Samantha reports on Ben and that witch's cabin. The place is a fortress, and I'm almost certain the fools I sent after her couldn't have gotten past its defenses. I wasn't aware of the others living there, and they've definitely caught my attention. I'm not sure how I feel about Ben bringing two young girls to America under unclear circumstances. What is he thinking? Now they seem to be under the influence of some shady character named Alexei. I definitely need to gather more information on him. Bill finally arrives. I go to meet with him and deliver my current orders for him to find out all the information he can on this Alexei, Zarika, Yasmin, and Safia. I have to do things this way because they still won't let me have access to a computer of my own. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.